Obviously, the first thing I want to cover, though, is that Obama was confronted by a Tea Party member saying, why did you call Tea Partiers terrorists? And Obama basically gave him a long, rambling answer. And then Wolf Blitzer asked him about it yesterday on CNN, and this was the president's response to that. Here it is.
The risk that we're especially concerned of right now is the lone wolf terrorist, somebody with a single weapon being able to carry out wide-scale massacres of the sort that we saw in Norway recently. When you've got one person who is deranged or driven by a hateful ideology, they can do a lot of damage, and it's a lot harder to trace those lone wolf operators.
Now, if you go look at his surrogates, like the vice president and others, they're saying that it's going to be Tea Partiers that are going to be attacking. And you've seen that talking point now that the Tea Party, people that want to get rid of the private Federal Reserve, the real Tea Party, are basically terrorists. And here's the AFP headline, Obama frets over lone wolf attacks as September 11th looms. So that was all branded as if it's an al-Qaeda lone wolf. But when you get the actual FBI training manuals, the alerts they're putting out, almost all of it has to do with domestic, quote, right-wing groups. And, of course, you've heard that from the vice president and many others. There are some detailed reports. Both Paul Watson and Kurt Nemo have written about this today at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Obama's feared lone wolf attack could save his presidency. And that's what we've been seeing, these different statements out of White House analysts, White House advisors, and others. And so that's where the major branding for all of this is going. And they are clearly testing the waters and beta testing, test ballooning, whatever term you want to use, launching October-type surprises before the election to blame their political opposition. It's the oldest trick in the book. You notice the system is praising that on Fox News. The neocons are praising it because they know Michelle Bachmann, former tax collector for the IRS that pays the money to the private Federal Reserve and is not going to actually follow through on what she says. If she's elected, she's a famous flip-flopper, just like Rick Perry is a completely deceptive, duplicitous political chameleon. So when he calls it treacherous and almost treasonous, that's a quote, and then Obama comes out and responds to him and says, how dare you say that? That's dangerous talk. I've got those clips. It's all a part of elevating Rick Perry. And now because it looks like Ron Paul has a really good chance of winning, he's winning most of the straw polls, almost all the scientific polls, and just the general internet polls. If you look at the spectrum of polls, he's winning around 80% of them. In the rest of the cases, he's number 2 or number 3. But even when he's number 2 or number 3, as the Daily Show even illustrated, and the Drudge Report linked to that yesterday, it's now had millions of views, on every channel, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, they will not mention Ron Paul even when he's number 1 or number 2 or number 3. They will show the poll numbers on screen, but then not even mention him or say he can't win. And, hey, bring me some of that Sarah Palin literature. We hope she runs, but don't bring me any Ron Paul stuff. Ha, 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 ha. Like everybody knows, don't buy that carton of eggs. It's rotten. Don't buy that gallon of milk. It's rotten. I mean, they are treating you like you are flotsam and jetsam that just goes with the wind. And, well, if they tell you, then you're not going to go for Ron Paul. But Ron Paul's got a new TV ad out that I think is absolutely genius because it simply states the truth. When you got the truth, you don't need to remember what you're going to say. You just state the facts. When you've got the truth, you just lay your cards on the table and win every time. And the new ad, Ron Paul's new ad, the one who can beat Obama, is the headline. It's at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, so that is coming up. Now, on the economic front, and Paul Watson's written articles about this, you can pull up the quotes where top Bilderberg Group members, top founders of the euro, across the board have all written books and made statements that the euro was meant to destroy the sovereignty, not unify the nations for greater political power and for easier mobility and commerce across borders, which would be one thing. It was meant to destroy sovereignty and transfer it to the unelected bureaucracy. That's now happened. And as soon as countries enter the euro, they are instantly imploded financially, i.e. Ireland, Greece, great examples. Within just 6 months of entering the euro, they went from the success story in Ireland to, oh, you're totally bankrupt, because they signed on to the debt of the private banks in that deal. And they admit that the euro is a receivership arm and is a financial agreement through the private central banks to sign over your sovereignty. And so now that they've had multiple banker bailouts in Europe, which is just basically government taxes paid to their banker masters that have taken over their nations through fraud, that after they've had multiple bailouts, now Germany and France are saying, okay, we're setting up a total financial union that will rule everyone and raise everybody's taxes to pay the central banks. And you've got all the big private banking families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, all the elite families are on every TV channel, every newspaper, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, saying time to raise taxes, time to raise taxes, we've got to help the poor. But see, they have exempted themselves with the Irish double and other financial systems that they've set up, where they are exempt from almost all of the taxes. Then they double back, con the public, using social engineering, class warfare, class envy garbage, and say, hey, if somebody's making $125,000 a year, they're rich, we're going to tax them and get the economy going. Hey, if somebody's making $250,000, same proposals in Europe, we're going to raise their taxes if it's a couple making $250,000. And it's on. And so this is how the double Irish system, as it's known, where they've written the tax laws in Europe and the U.S. and Canada, where they are exempt, but you are not. If you try, let's say you're a millionaire, if you try to go set up a tax shelter via the double Irish or other systems, you will be instantly SWAT-teamed, instantly arrested. It doesn't matter if you go into the special courts, the special IRS courts they have similar ones in Europe, with the fact that it's a law and that you're allowed to do it, they will selectively go after you and claim that it's fraud. Only the mega-rich are exempt from taxation. That's how this works. So we're going to be going over that report today. In fact, here it is in the Daily Mail. Paris and Berlin launch a coup to control Eurozone, demanding rights to dictate economic policy to the countries they've now taken over. Here's NPR. France, Germany propose true European economic government. See, an economic government. Government for and by the crony bankers, the monopoly men. This is the crux, the heart of every issue. And there was only one man in 25-year history in Congress, or 12 terms. He was in for one term as a libertarian. The system ran him out, and now he's come back for 11 more terms. He's, of course, in the middle of his 11th term as a Republican. Congressman Ron Paul. And he was talking about the Federal Reserve when it wasn't cool. He was talking about it when the Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL would claim it was code words for being a racist. I mean, they would throw the kitchen sink at you if you tried to talk about these issues. And now, because the people of America, liberal, conservative, libertarian, across the board, polls 2 years ago, 75% wanted to audit or abolish the Fed. Now it's over 85%. Because the people, as the Zbigniew Brzezinski said last year, were finally awake to the real power structure, not the Obamas, not the Bushes, not the Merkels, not the Barrosos, not the Gordon Browns, not the front puppets, not the marionettes, but the puppet masters themselves. The system is in deep trouble. Because once you identify that, wait a minute, I pay my IRS check and then it's deposited with the private Federal Reserve? What? You mean we didn't have an income tax until 1913 and until 1951? 90+% of Americans were exempt? You mean we built this country and had 10% growth rates annually on average before we got this in place? You mean the good times started to end when they took over? You mean they're private? It's over. It's over. It's the beginning of the end for them unless they stage terror attacks and bring a police state into place. And to illustrate the fact that our ideas are winning, are dominating. Remember, 10 years ago, I didn't tell you we were winning. I didn't tell you 3.5 years ago that Ron Paul was unstoppable if we simply believed in him. I said he was an underdog, but he was educating people and could win. This time, he is the leader. He has emerged, even as AP admitted, as shaping the election and dominating it and being the main front runner. Okay? This is incredibly positive news. But the controllers didn't take over the planet because they're shy, or because they're weak, or because they're not bold, or because they're not duplicitous and deceptive and murderous and absolutely, totally ruthless. They are in control because they understand human psychology. They understand economics. And they are going to strike back with everything they've got. And the number one thing they're going to do, and I saw this in their manuals and their internal documents 3 years ago. We broke the MIAC, Homeland Security reports, and others here, many reports before that. We saw the attack pattern. We basically were able to reverse engineer the enemy propaganda attack pattern, and it's very elementary. But it works on people that are not awake and not aware of the trick. Once you know the trick, you can't believe that you didn't see it before. And it's called staged terror attack. It's called staged terror attack. And now in the last few months, they've publicly rolled it out. The Tea Party are terrorists. They're going to blow stuff up. The FBI is watching people that protest the Fed. The Army's standing by to guard it. This has all come out in the news now. Again, we call it the Fed, the Private Federal Reserve. Again, the name itself is a deception. Everything is deception with these people. And they are preparing, and they are beta testing and trial ballooning right now to see if you will buy it. Now, they don't like the Tea Partier getting in the face of Obama a few days ago and saying, why'd you call us terrorists? And then you can hear his question. Obama's mumbling answer is about, well, what Biden meant was... But the point is they are really pushing this, and there's all these White House advisors and others saying this is what's needed. So that audio clip is coming up. Also, Monday, we had the article, Krugman of the New York Times calls on government to manufacture war to save economy. Amidst alien invasion rant, many missed the point that New York Times economist was advocating a staged crisis. That's exactly what Robert Shapiro, writing in the Financial Times of London, said. He said, barring a new Oklahoma City or 9/11, there is no way Obama is going to get reelected, and no way his agenda is going to be put through. Remember, that was a year ago now. He said that. Now, we've seen other advisors come out, and we've seen internal Democratic Party operative letters going out to their big donors saying, the right is going to stage a new Oklahoma City. And this is going to be our path to maintaining our takeover of America. And I have screamed and yelled about it, and thank God that Michael Savage has talked about it. Thank God that Glenn Beck has talked about it. And the only reason Glenn Beck talked about it is because in those letters, they're setting him up. By the way, I'm also in those letters, to be blamed for it. And I said to Beck for a month straight, I said, you better come out about this, buddy. They're going to blow something sky high and claim the Patsy did it. For you. And Beck came out and said, they're preparing a new 9/11 to blame it on me. So he may be a duplicitous creature, but at least he understands he's being set up as well. Well, we're all being set up, and we're going to break it down on the other side.